Hello and welcome to the Knowing Show. I am your host, Christene Marie. Y'all, today is my birthday, and I love this topic. It falls perfectly on this day that is such a happy day, such a fun day. And I'm excited to dive into it with you because there is such a culture in, in the environment in which I was raised, in the environment in which I grew up, where there was just a lot of condemnation over ourselves, and there was a lot that had to do with our identity that was kind of espousing this real negative undertone of something is wrong with you. And that was, for the most part, the mantra growing up. And so this discovery around the love of God completely changed my engagement with not just God, but also with myself and with the world around me, where all of a sudden, in recognizing that there was love, not anger or judgment or condemnation, all of a sudden it was like, oh, now I can experience joy on the other side of that, on the other side of recognizing the truth of what love is. There is so much freedom to create, freedom to experience joy to the fullness. And so, to this point around love tonight, I actually want to start off with just a quick little jump over to A Course in Miracles. We're in the middle of a review section right now, so it's just a couple phrases, and then we'll come back over here and hop into the chat and say good evening to you all. But let's go ahead and hop over to A Course in Miracles. Also, for those of you who are just joining in, we're actually going to be having a little bit of a longer show tomorrow night. I have an exciting announcement. I've been working on something, and I'm excited to share about it tomorrow night. So tomorrow night's going to be a bigger show tonight. I'm excited for being here with you and chatting, but it's going to be a little bit shorter. A lot of wonderful birthday things today, and I'm very tired. So let's go ahead and read A Course in Miracles, Lesson 189 review. I feel the love of God within me now. The love of God is what created me. The love of God is everything I am. The love of God proclaimed me as his son. The love of God within me sets me free. Y'all, it's so funny. So I saw the title for the lesson, but I didn't read it. I started out this episode in this segment with you talking about how understanding the love of God was the very conduit which allowed me to experience the fullness of joy, the very thing that allowed me to realize that there's not anger or judgment or condemnation waiting me, and therefore there is so much freedom to create. And this is exactly the last line. The love of God within me sets me free. In love, we are free. And so if we are existing in bondage, then therefore we can assume we're not free. So let's kind of just like look at the last few phrases or aspects of each one of these phrases. The love of God is what created me. The love of God is everything I am. The love of God proclaimed me as his son. The love of God within me sets me free. So this has everything to do with how we were created, what we were created for, and our identity. So once we start questioning any one of those aspects, it can effectively be a mirror for us that we're not operating in love. We're not operating in freedom. We're not operating in identity. We're not operating the essence of our being. The love of God is everything I am. If we are made in the image of the Creator as the created, we are meant to be the embodiment of his essence. And so what is the essence of God? It is love. And so if love is not like coming forth from us, and it's not just embodying our souls and our spirits, man, then that's probably a good sign that we're actually not just not filled with love, but we're actually disconnected from the very source, from the very fullness of the essence of who we were created to be in the first place, and the source of that essence itself. It says, I feel the love of God within me now. So there is this concept of, okay, and this is actually, let's battle this out together. I don't know the answer. Is the love of God always within me because that is the essence of who I am? Or is it something that I sense that I kind of like come in and out of? And as I kind of share that, I think that the reason why we feel like we can come in and out of the love of God is because we actually choose to step into it or not. It's like we get to Richard Rohr, actually, he's a Franciscan priest. He wrote a really beautiful book called The Immortal Diamond. And he talks about this concept of the false self and the true self. So if we are walking in accordance with our true self, every single one of these, the love of God is what created me. The love of God is everything I am. The love of God proclaimed me as his son. The love of God within me sets me free. If we are walking in the essence of our identity and who we were created to be and how we were created to be, reflecting that which is ultimately within us, well, that's our true self. But there is a propensity and an ability to kind of exist in a false self. And y'all, for those of you who have been following along with the Course in Miracles over the last 7 months, we talk a lot about how effectively when you're not living according to your true nature, if you're not living according to the identity that was given you, there's actually, it's kind of an illusion. It's actually, it's false. It's not real. The true self, the real self, and the false self, the illusion in which we find ourselves. And so much of the grief and pain and anger and condemnation that we find that kind of bogs us down is a reflection that I am living in an illusion. So the antithesis of truth, is it falsehood? Is it illusion? And ultimately, whatever your answer is there, that is what you are existing in when you are not existing in the truth of the love of God. It's so interesting we're talking about this tonight. For my birthday, I hosted just a small little dinner party at my home. And I asked everyone a question, and that's how I run these knowing dinners. Anytime I'm traveling to an event, speaking at an event, attending, I would host dinners in various cities across the US. And this was my first or my second time really hosting at my home. And as I do, I ask everybody a question, and then everyone goes around and answers. And the conversations that come from that are just incredible. People get to know each other. People realize things about themselves in a way that they never had before. And if any of you ever want to do this, the most I've ever seen successful was 8. I've done knowing retreats, and the most there was 9. But man, anything more than 8, and it does take a while. Like, I guess you could say, like, the deeper your question, the better your question, the more you want to give people space and time to respond. So if you've got tonight, we had 6 and it was perfect. And not everybody even went within, I guess it was 2.5 hours. So I would say keep it probably to 6 or 7. That's really nice. So we had 6 at our evening, and this is the question. So if you want to take this question and ask it to friends, family, and have a dinner, do. My question was, who are you? Why are you here? And how did you come to know it? For both of those, how did you come to actually realize the answers to those questions? And as we were talking, someone asked me, and it got posited to the group, what is truth? And one woman was contending effectively that the greatest of all truth is love. And someone else was just basically saying truth is completely subjective. And it was such a fun debate to watch and listen to and enter into around what is truth. And the reason why I bring this up is because I just said the words, the love of God is the greater truth than that which is the illusion of the false self. And y'all, this is really important. Each one of us holds a responsibility to identify what is the greatest, most ultimate truth in your life to which you will then submit to. Which one will you kind of bend your knee and adhere to? And is it going to be, some people make their God the intellect. Some people make their God the God of, different religions. Some people make them their God themselves, where it's like, I am all. And that's a little more narcissistic, but that's kind of the point of what I'm trying to get to is, who is the God that is the ultimate truth in your life? Who has the final say? And again, the reason why that this is so important is because we have this decision every single day, every morning, the second our eyes open, or even before then, when we're still kind of in that half waking, half sleeping stage, we get to decide, what am I going to walk in that which is the greatest of all truth, the love of God? Or am I going to walk in the illusion of fear, anxiety, depression, even hunger? Am I going to give into these kind of very physical needs or fears or concerns? Or am I actually going to realize that that's actually not the end of the story, and therefore I'm going to kind of transcend that? It was interesting tonight. Someone was talking about when you surpass the basic need of human survival, and you do go into survival mode, and you're kind of, well, not surpass, but you cross the threshold into, you have a great need and you're in survival mode activated. They were like, all of a sudden, your value for truth, of not lying, of not stealing, all of a sudden, all of that goes out the door, because now your life is in jeopardy. And so you're actually going to start behaving very differently than if things were different, if you were safe and coddled and cared for like how we exist today. And I thought that that was so interesting, because at the end of the day, if we have something to which we honor and uphold, and we look at kind of on that pedestal, and we say, this is worthy of honor, this is the guiding principles to which I will adhere my life. What that does is that's our safeguard. When anything doesn't measure up and it actually causes us to kind of drag down, that shows us, okay, let me actually move away from that. Let me move away from that which is pulling me down and taking me away from the greatest of all ideals. And so the clearer we get on, what am I adhering my life to? And that's really the third question that I typically ask, on the show. We talk about who we are, why we're here, and whose we are. So like, what is that superordinate principle to which I'm adhering my life to? And again, that drives everything. That drives every decision. That drives literally the manner and mode and mindset in which we step out of bed every morning. So the clearer we are on what we believe, because it's all rooted in beliefs, the more that's going to drive our choice in how we respond. I just want to jump over here in the chat. William, hello. Yes, I would love to. If you have any questions, let me know. I would love to answer. Good to see you. Lurk, hello. Thanks for joining. Irving, good to see you, Irving. Living Wine, good to see you. RK, Living Wine, I'd love to know what you would call that. If you're making yourself God effectively, and you said it's not narcissistic, I'd love to hear kind of what is that then? I would love to hear your thoughts there. Sheep's Clips, hello. Thanks for joining. Chili, hello. Good evening. Pedro, hello. I love that Clasher says it's never I or me, it's we, one consciousness. English with Janelle, hello. Yes, reach out, send me an email and let's do it. Thank you. Goose Hunter, thank you, my friend. I'm so glad to see you. Joe Ingram, hello. Good to see you. Alec, hello. Restore, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Just scrolling back down. Steve Stano, hello. Good to see you. It's been a little while. I'm glad you're here. I was gonna say, for those of you who are regulars at the show, make sure you tune in tomorrow. I have something I'm excited to share. I already scheduled the show. It's going to be at 10:15 Eastern PM and 7:15 PST. Goose Hunter says, should love in God be stronger than faith in God? Is faith in God automatically love for God? Ooh, what a good question. It was so funny. I love that this conversation happened the way that it did tonight. Even just the fact that this title was what it was. Someone gave the example around, what's more important, love or truth? And so to your point around faith or love, someone gave the example of, if you have a parent who says, I love you, I love you, I love you, and yet you cannot depend on them, by all levels of analysis, that's a bad parent. And so and everyone was like, yes, yes. But that begs a greater question of, well, what is love? And wouldn't dependability actually be a manifestation of love in and of itself? And I actually want to let's go to the source. There's this whole little section, I guess you could say, that's read at weddings, funerals, just life events. This concept, a passage around love is used across the board. And it says this: love is patient and kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not arrogant nor rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And so, and then it says, now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. So it brings up an interesting point where I think it's almost like if you start with love, everything comes forth from that. I've seen people who have faith in God, and I don't know if they love him. It actually, I don't think faith begets love. I might actually consider it might be the opposite. Maybe love begets faith. So I'm curious, I would love to hear your thoughts, Goose Hunter. I think man, I don't think it's an automatic. I think some people can really have love, and it's maybe lacking substance, such as faith. Um, but man, I think it goes so hand in hand. It just says faith, hope, and love remain, and the greatest of these is love. So I really think that we'd be missing something to effectively assume that if I have faith, I therefore have love. But I want to just come back to it. Should love in God be stronger than faith in God? You know what's interesting? I'm so glad I reread this. Goose Hunter, I think it's love with God. It's actually this relationship. It's reciprocal. It's this dynamic of kind of like if you were to watch a husband and wife, their marriage, what does it look like for the intimacy with God and how he knows this? Or maybe honestly, a better example is perhaps a father and a son, or a parent and a child. That love is that which is reciprocated, that which is mutual, that which is exchanged, rather than faith in. I'm taking this faith that I have and placing it upon something versus taking this love that I have and placing it upon something. And that, you bring up just the most, and probably one of the most important points. If we are only having a one-way love relationship with God, man, are we missing so much? Because love from God is meant to be received. But most of my life, I was only giving love to God and never sitting and receiving. So to this point of, okay, well, how to feel the love of God? Am I actually creating space in my life to feel in the first place? Do I even know what my feelings are? Am I so out of touch with myself? Do I take the time to sit and consider and actually sense in my body, like, where would the love of God feel? Is it my heart? Is it my whole body? Like, what does it feel like to feel the love of God? And it starts with simply feeling in the first place. And then from there, it's dedicated time. This is my experience, dedicated time on a daily basis to literally go sit. And when we think about when people are like, oh, what an amazing person, they made me feel so seen. If we want to have a two-way relationship with God, it actually requires not just us praying and talking at him, but us actually listening to him in return. That's reciprocal for both us and God. Otherwise, what makes God any different than, dare I say, what makes God any different than a AI bot? Where we're just like talking to it, and then maybe it self-soothes. But actually, the wisdom that comes from the divine heart of God, if we do not sit and listen, there's nothing to absorb, there's nothing to receive, and thus there's nothing then to give. So our ability to love well as an output is predicated on the wellness and wholeness of our input of love. And so, do I even know what my feelings are? do I create time to sit and listen and have a reciprocal relationship with God? And then the question is, okay, then how do I move forward from there to really feel it and like almost kind of spark that love? Steve, oh, I'm so glad. He says, "How have you been?" I've been good. I'm so grateful to be live with you all tonight. It's the evening of my birthday, and it's been such a wonderful day. And I was like, no, I came on so late, and I'm so tired. So I know we won't have too much time together, but I'm glad to be with you. Stephen Gonzalez, hello. Good to see you. Um, William, I love that pretty verse. Um, RK, hello. Oliver, Oliver says, after all these months, you're still not monetized. Um, okay, so I oh man, I really want to tell you something. Come join tomorrow night. I would love to be able to share something with you tomorrow night. I have kind of an announcement, but it's also a big request. Like I would actually love to have a vibrant conversation in the chat tomorrow night after we do the show, where I have a really important question for you guys. If you guys are willing, I would really, really appreciate to hear from you. I'm creating something, and the goal is to serve. The goal is impact. You know, really truly, when I was 18 years old, somebody asked me, you know, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do? And I said, I just want to make an impact. And they were like, okay, well, you have to have some way to do that. And I think I have a way now. And so I'm super excited, but I would love to have you all join me again tomorrow night, and we're going to just have a conversation in the chat around what my idea is. um mm, I love that. Goose Hunter says, love in God is the optimal state in which man emanates the good given us by God. That's beautifully stated. Playboy, hello. Wow's Woo Ziak, hello. William, thank you. I love birthdays. I really, really, I think all of us could use another dose of joy in our life. And so when our birthdays come around, it's like just celebrate as much as you can. You deserve it. And isn't that capitalizing on joy? There's no reason why not to cash in this check that we've been freely given every single year, 365 days. We are given this check that we get to cash for immediate, instant joy and celebration, should we so choose. All right, y'all, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow night, 10:15 Eastern, 7:15 Pacific. I have something that I really would love your advice on. So, all right, y'all, talk soon. Bye.